you can count on us. This is 7 News Good Morning Fort Sill.
Good morning, and thanks for tuning in to this Thursday edition of Good Morning Fort Sill.
Well, that's right. We got some great material today to share with you that is relevant to our military service members and their family. But first, let's go ahead and check on the weather with Michael Amanqua.
Well, we're seeing mostly clear skies as we take a look at satellite and radar. We're not seeing those storms that we saw yesterday morning, although they were hit and miss. So some people saw some activity, some didn't. But take a look at satellite and radar. We can see mostly clear skies and maybe a few clouds are spotty in there in the area. But Jackson County Memorial Hospital Tower Cam in Altus looking pretty nice out there. And as we take a look at the almanac for precipitation, we did see about 0.05 of an inch of rain officially at the airport. So a little bit of rain that we did see across the area. It had a high officially of 94 degrees yesterday in the Lawton area, a little bit below average for this time of year, but we're not seeing those disastrously hot temperatures that we saw 2 years ago, which that is a bit of good news. It is August anyway. And yesterday we also saw a high of 91 in Duncan. We saw 89 in Wichita Falls, 94 in Frederick, 95 in Altus, 91 in Elk City. And where the rain did occur a little bit earlier in the day, we saw a high of 86 down in Graham and 89 down in Bowie.
The largest detention center in the United States is open at Fort Bliss. It's sparking protests and debate over its role in the Trump administration's immigration policies.
This comes as the DOD is set to award $230 million in additional funds to the facility so it can increase its capacity. Currently, the detention center has about 1,000 beds, but federal officials say the site could eventually expand to hold up to 5,000 people. Supporters of the center say the facility is a key part of keeping U.S. borders secure.
These are humane, safe facilities, and in many instances a vast improvement over what many of these folks are used to. I think it's really important for people to understand we're not talking about gardeners, housekeepers, or people like that. We're talking about as many as 291,000 individuals who are called criminal aliens, who are people either with criminal charges pending or criminal convictions.
ICE says it has already begun accepting a limited number of detainees in preparation for the ramp-up. Well, Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth visited with National Guard members at Union Station in Washington, D.C.
And the visit comes as Guard members have been deployed by President Trump to patrol the streets of the nation's capital in an effort to reduce crime. Not everyone agrees with the move. In fact, protesters could be heard outside of Union Station voicing their displeasure, much to the dismay of the Vice President.
We don't have to live like this. We do not have to allow our cities to be taken over by violence and disorder and by chaos. You can actually do stuff. You can actually bring law and order to communities. You've just got to have the political willpower to do it. And I think you hear these guys outside here screaming at us. Of course, these are a bunch of crazy protesters. But I'll tell you, a couple of years ago when I brought my kids here, they were being screamed at by violent vagrants, and it was scaring the hell out of my kids.
The Vice President also refuting reports that crime in D.C. is actually down this year. He says crime statistics nationwide are massively underreported and do not account for those who call for help but never get it. Well, Fort Sill leadership, defense industry partners, and community leaders came together for a collaboration session at the FISTA for the Fires Roundtable Breakfast.
That's right, Kyle. Fort Sill leaders were able to provide insight as to where the Fires enterprise is headed in a not-so-distant future.
We are in the midst of a significant reorganization across the Army and across the centers of excellence. And as we merge those two 4-star commands, Army Futures Command and a Training Doctrine Command, into one command, it's fundamentally changing everything at Fort Sill.
Transformation, modernization, and collaboration were key terms at yesterday's Fires Roundtable breakfast at the FISTA as Fort Sill leaders discussed ongoing initiatives in the Fires enterprise that are making pivotal shifts on how the installation does business.
We spend a significant amount of time just trying to keep up with what's changing between strategic fires, long-range fires, and the adaptations that we're making for the Army's transforming efforts.
The Army's merging of Training and Doctrine Command and Army Futures Command into one combined headquarters called Transformation and Training Command will have far-reaching impacts to Fort Sill as they combine several organizations on the installation.
The Fort Sill and the organization that you know as the COE today is not going to look like this come 1 October. Right, cross-functional teams and CDIDs are going to combine.
The good news for Fort Sill is even with the consolidation of multiple organizations on the installation, the end result should be a net positive for the total number of personnel, which 7 News first reported on after discussions with the Chief of Staff of the Army's office earlier this year.
Well, it sounds like lots of change are coming.
So that's true, Kyle. There is a ton of change right now. I mean, the Army is transforming, and that was one of the buzzwords that was talked about in yesterday's Fires Roundtable breakfast. It's really a mirror, though, of what's happening with the federal government and what they're calling is building efficiency. They're trying to figure out how to streamline operations. They're trying to do that in the military as well, and they were discussing that in yesterday's session. It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out as they combine several elements on Fort Sill in the beginning of the next fiscal year, really.
Well, along with that breakfast yesterday, defense company Epirus conducted a ribbon-cutting ceremony for their new facility at the Vista.
That's right. Their new Immersive Innovation Center is bringing the power of Silicon Valley technology right here to Lawton, Fort Sill. Congressman Cole was on hand for the ribbon cutting.
We now have 26 or 7 different companies operating out of here, over 150 engineers. None of that would have been possible without vision from people in Lawton who put up the seed money, drove the process, and made it happen. But, you know, the big beneficiary, of course, is the warfighter in the end, but the spin-off advantages for the Lawton community are enormous.
Now, Epirus says, along with strengthening its collaboration with local military personnel, they also hope to spark STEM interest through the local universities and drive future innovation right here in Southwest Oklahoma.
Well, heads up, Fort Sill National Cemetery alongside the Comanche County Veterans Council will be holding another burial ceremony for an unclaimed veteran this morning. The service will begin at 11 a.m. at Fort Sill National Cemetery in Elgin. Army Specialist Miley Good will be laid to rest. The ceremony is free and everyone is welcome to attend.
And the Lawton Fort Sill Veterans Center alongside the Patriot Guard Riders are hosting a memorial service and roll call today for veterans who have passed away recently. That event will be held at 1 o'clock this afternoon at the Veterans Center at 501 Southeast Flower Mound Road. The event is free to attend. You know, I was talking about this yesterday because we were talking about this, and I served as a guest speaker at one of these events at the Veterans Center. Really impactful, very meaningful. They do a really good job at making sure we honor these veterans that have passed away.
Well, Altus Air Force Base is gearing up for the 27th annual Cattle Drive today. Always an exciting event over there. More than 30 Longhorn cattle will be led on a 3-mile drive around the installation this morning. It'll take place from 9 to 11 a.m. It kicks off a whole day of festivities, though, really. Yeah. Tonight, a KC-135 will conduct a flyover for the opening night of the Altus Rodeo. We'll have a full recap of the Cattle Drive tomorrow right here on Good Morning Fort Sill. And if you're in need of a safe ride tonight or really any time, Altus Air Force Base has you covered. They're reminding airmen and their families there are multiple options to help you get where you need to go.
Some of those services include the Altus Express Shuttle, Southwest Transit, and the Airmen Against Drunk Driving service. You can also use the PIC app to get on-demand rides for $3. Fort Hood is participating in a trial program that allows soldiers to use their ID cards to get food at places across the installation. Coming up on Good Morning Fort Sill, we'll have the first-hand accounts of how the program is going so far.
Every evening, 7 News, working for you every night at 10.
This just in, the town of Velma is being evacuated.
Stay connected to the team you trust your way. Get breaking news and investigations here on the 7 News app.
Mark, what are you seeing?
Right now I'm here at 2nd and F.
Instant forecast with real-time alerts here on the First Alert 7 weather app. And stream live on your TV here or watch anytime on your schedule. Download all 3 for free. Stay connected to 7 News wherever you are.
Every first matters. The first alarm, at first cup of coffee, and the first look at what the day could bring.
And 7 News is right here with you with your first alert.
Every first, every morning, we're here. 7 News, Good Morning Texoma. 7 News, working for you every night at 5 and 6. Here's your first alert forecast with meteorologist Michael Amankwa.
And our current temperatures, we're sitting in the lower to mid 70s across the area. It's currently 76 in Lawton, 77 in Wichita Falls, 76 in Frederick, and 74 in Anadarko, 72 in Hobart. And taking a look at our current dew points, they're sitting anywhere into the upper 60s to lower 70s across the area. So a little bit muggy, and winds are generally calm, but they're out of a lot of them is out of the east and northeast, anywhere between 0 to 10 miles per hour across the area. Taking a look at what we have in the upper levels, high pressure still off to our west, and it will stay that way, continuing to have a northerly flow in the upper levels, and that will continue to bring reasonable seasonable temperatures, I should say. So we do have Hurricane Erin currently off the east coast, and it's currently a Category 2 hurricane with sustained winds at around 105 miles per hour. It will continue to make itself pretty much going all the way towards the northeast, so away from the U.S. But currently the East Coast is experiencing a lot of rip currents, but it will continue to make its way off there. And we do have that boundary that we had that moved through yesterday with those showers and storms currently stalled in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So your morning PT forecast currently is 76 at Fort Sill, and mostly clear skies. And over the next few hours, our temperatures will be generally starting from the lower 70s and getting up to the upper 70s by the time we get to around 9 a.m.
So, Kyle, we just talked about Epirus opening their facility here. Epirus's primary technology is counter-drone technology. Okay. So this next story that we're going to talk about is actually about building drones. So Performance Drone Works has opened a brand new facility, not here but in Huntsville, Alabama, to help engineer and create drones for military use.
The company's mission is to use this type of manufacturing to promote American business while also helping allies during times of crisis. According to Performance Drone Works, 70 to 80% of drone combat in places such as Ukraine is operating with machinery the size of a dinner plate.
While drone warfare is prevalent in battlefields across the world, factories like the one in Huntsville are essential in keeping up with today's wartime trends.
You have all walks of the aisles. It's just an incredible, diverse, wonderful community to be in. We've been building in Huntsville since the inception of the company.
This is where we should be building and investing in our military, the future of military, especially our drone industry. And so we think, it's not why Huntsville, why anywhere else?
Founders of Performance Drone Works say the company can turn about $1 billion worth of drones to the U.S. military per year.
Well, the Army is using soldiers at Fort Hood to try out a new program they hope will expand meal options for service members.
200 soldiers are taking part in the Army's trial run of the Feed program. The program allows them to scan their Common Access card to get a meal at any AAFES location across the installation. Soldiers who are participating in the trial run say the program is a game changer.
Especially if I'm on a time crunch to get to work and, the DFAC is maybe miles away, whereas the food court, which I have access to right now, it's conveniently like maybe two-minute walk.
We have lived in the days in the past where soldiers have only had the dining facilities to rely on. This program is expanding the aperture and the options that they have across a military installation to help support them and their nutritional needs.
Now, if the Feed program trial is successful, they hope to expand it across the Army so every soldier that needs it can use it. Well, still ahead, top U.S. military brass are in Alaska this week for joint operation exercises coming up on Good Morning Fort Sill. Hear why escalating operations from adversaries have prompted an increased military presence in the last frontier.
Every evening, 7 News, working for you every night at 10.
This just in, the town of Velma is being evacuated.
Stay connected to the team you trust your way. Get breaking news and investigations here on the 7 News app.
Mark, what are you seeing?
Right now I'm here at 2nd and F.
Instant forecast with real-time alerts here on the First Alert 7 weather app. And stream live on your TV here or watch anytime on your schedule. Download all 3 for free. Stay connected to 7 News wherever you are.
Every first matters. The first alarm at first cup of coffee and the first look at what the day could bring.
And 7 News is right here with you with your first alert.
Every first, every morning, we're here. 7 News, Good Morning Texoma. 7 News, working for you every night at 5 and 6.
With an increase in Chinese and Russian incursions near the border of Alaska, lawmakers in the last frontier are clamoring for an expanded military presence in that area. Now, this comes as the state is holding top U.S. military brass for joint training exercises.
So General Gregory M. Gillett, Admiral Christopher W. Grady, who is the Joint Chief of Staff Vice Chairman, and U.S. Navy Admiral Samuel Paparo were among some of the names being welcomed into the state this week. They say that the military needs to show strength and unity at a time we're seeing rising threats.
We've had some Chinese so-called research ships up in the northern part of the Arctic. For a lot of the summer, they're not just doing research, trust us. They're doing a lot more than that. So we are monitoring them, and this is going to increase, and so we need more capability and more infrastructure.
So, Kyle, I got to say, we had file video right there. It is summertime in Alaska, so it's not so
obviously right video of a previous exercise.
Yes. So Operation Northern Edge is just one of the major training exercises taking place in Alaska this week. More than 6,400 service members, 100 aircraft, and 7 U.S. and Canadian ships are taking part in that exercise.
Yeah, the exercise, led by U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, serves as a platform to deliver high-end, realistic warfighter training, strengthen joint interoperability, and sharpen the air and sea-based combat readiness of U.S. forces.
This year, Northern Edge coincides with Exercise Arctic Edge 2025, an annual exercise conducted by the North American Aerospace Defense Command and NORTHCOM. For the first time, the 2 exercises will occur concurrently with activities spanning the Alaska Theater of Operations.
Leaders say by executing operations simultaneously, both commands can enhance cross-combatant command coordination, integrate missions, and demonstrate the ability to position and sustain operations throughout the theater. And 2-week annual training exercises are routine for National Guard units across the nation. This year, the 910th Engineer Support Company from Alaska gathered at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson to rebuild 2 training sites as part of their 2-week annual training.
Unit leaders say that structures were deteriorating, leading the company to build a new bunker and reinforce the areas. The project highlighted the ability of Guardsmen to bring their outside skill set into military application. Well, Fort Leonard Wood is reporting 12 cases of hand, foot, and mouth disease. Base leaders say those who've come down with the disease are being treated at the Army Community Hospital.
Yeah, hand, foot, and mouth disease is a common illness, as we all know, and while it's more prevalent in children under the age of 5, it's not unheard of in adults. The disease is more common in the summer and the fall. Most of the time, those infected require little to no medical treatment.
But there are some precautions you can take to avoid catching the disease.
Best course of action, obviously, is to isolate themselves from other people so they're not trying to spread it while they're trying to figure out what's going on. Contact their primary care physician to be able to get checked out and diagnosed with this. Typically, the symptoms will start with a fever and then sore throat, and then they will see the sores kind of develop on their hands and feet and in the mouth.
Other health tips include wiping down and disinfecting common touch areas. For those who are infected, wear a mask to prevent transmission.
Well, 4 members of the Coast Guard are being hailed as heroes in Minnesota after rescuing kids who were trapped on an island in Lake Superior. The girls, ranging in ages from 8 to 14 years old, they became stranded after paddleboarding to the island.
Yeah, the water conditions were too dangerous for a boat rescue, so the U.S. Coast Guard helicopter stationed in Traverse City, Michigan, was called in to help. Now, the team navigated the rocky terrain and the windy conditions at the nighttime hours to rescue the girls and return them home safely.
I had initially briefed them that the oldest was going to go with the youngest just to make sure that she was okay. And that it was going to be a little bit of a roller coaster ride coming up, and that they were going to be okay in maybe like 10, 15 seconds. The only thing that I could think of was just, I hope I get these girls out of here, and I hope that they're okay at the end. I handed them off to their parents, and I know that they were more than excited to see them.
The crew says it's always a good reminder that any body of water, especially one as large as Lake Superior, can change in an instant, so you need to be aware of your surroundings at all times to stay safe.
Well, a Vietnam veteran in Louisiana has turned his love of collecting military memorabilia into a museum. Ernest Stevens' collection started small, simply placed in the corner of his bedroom.
But as he acquired more items, including donations and rare finds from his time serving in Vietnam, that collection grew into a mini museum inside of his barn.
But I've always liked museums, and I've always liked collecting this. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was stationed down in Key West, Florida for a while, and I worked with a museum down there, helping them do things, and I learned a lot about museums. So it just came natural to me to take everything I had and try to turn it into a museum.
Well, his exhibits date back to the American Civil War, but Stevens says he is working on expanding his museum to include more from the American Revolution and the Alamo.
With meteorologist Michael Amanqua.
Now, for your Thursday, we should have mostly clear skies, and as you go into your Thursday afternoon, we can't rule out an isolated shower possible in our far southeastern counties. Going into your Friday morning, temperatures, well, not temperatures, but we have mostly clear conditions, maybe a few clouds in our southeastern counties. Going to much of your Friday afternoon and evening hours, well, mostly sunny, and maybe a few clouds again down to our southeast. Looking on the long range, we can start your Saturday with mostly sunny skies, and then as you head towards your Sunday, we increase the clouds just a little bit, getting to partly cloudy. That's when rain chances start coming in on your Monday into your Tuesday, and then we'll get about a 30% chance by then, and we will upgrade it up to about 40% chance going into Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're even watching for the potential of well below average temperatures. So you see that in the 7-day forecast coming up in just a little bit. It's 95 for a high today with mostly sunny skies, northeast winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour. 68 will be a low with mostly clear skies and northeast winds at 0 to 10. And then as you go into tomorrow, 94 will be the high for your Friday with mostly sunny skies, northeast winds at around 5 to 10 miles an hour. And then going into your Saturday and Sunday, pretty much average temperatures, highs in the mid-90s and lows in the upper 60s, close to 70 degrees. And then as you go into next week, well, look at that. Well below average temperatures, and look at your bonus forecast, all 80s, closer to 90 degrees the following week.
Oh, man, that's the best bonus I've seen in a while, for sure. Well, thanks for watching Good Morning Fort Sill.